Hey folks, Joe Valley here. Thanks for joining me for another episode of the Quiet Light Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by myamazonguy.com. I know Stephen personally. They've helped out lots of folks that have bought businesses from Quiet Light and actually helped a lot of people increase the value of their businesses before they sold. So if you need to upscale your Amazon advertising, your SEO, any aspect of your entire Amazon catalog, reach out to myamazonguy.com. I'll get that right, folks. You know it, myamazonguy.com. Reach out to them, ask for Stephen, let them know I sent you. They'll definitely help you scale up your business. Now, today's podcast is about scaling your business through email marketing. We've got Reinis Krumins joining us on the podcast today. He's the founder of agencyJR. They focus fully on email marketing, and they've done about $30 million in revenue for their clients through email marketing alone. In some cases, boosting the monthly revenue from $600,000 to $900,000 in a period of 30 days. This is sort of an afterthought part of our marketing campaigns in many cases, and it's something that folks, if you pay a little bit of attention to, set up the proper campaigns and flows, which I know very little about, and he talks about them quite a bit here. It can really help boost your revenue, boost your profit, and overall boost the valuation of your company. So let's jump into it. Here we go. Reinis, welcome to the Quiet Light Podcast. How are you today?
Doing great. Happy to be here.
It's good to have you here. Appreciate you joining. Why don't you share some of your background with the audience so they understand who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm Reinis. 3 years ago, we started an email marketing agency, and so far we've worked with over 250 clients in Europe, USA, Australia, Canada, all over the world, really, with a variety of niches, all the way from electronics to clothing and everything in between. And so far we've generated around 30 million in sales, specifically through email marketing for e-commerce brands. We've gone through brands that have been acquired by companies, brands that have been sold, and we've seen how email marketing can impact valuations, not just valuations, even overall the profitability and the expected growth of the business, and how impactful this can be.
I would assume most of these companies are not, selling the majority of their products on Amazon. It's mostly Shopify and things of that nature.
Yes, it's mostly Shopify. We have had brands that have sold on Amazon, and then they want to build out the Shopify arm to sell more of their products and have more of a control over the fulfillment side and whatnot. Obviously, Amazon is a great channel to have. For them, they want to expand into the direct-to-consumer side of things as well. If, for example, Amazon is a huge channel for you in the US, you might be able to possibly have more control and have more data if you have your own Shopify store. With the Shopify store, you do get people's emails, you do get their contact information, which on Amazon is a lot more limited. You do see people throwing in slip-ins, so maybe guarantees that you can redeem by going to a website and entering an email. That way, you can collect some data from Amazon, but Jeff Bezos is not going to hand the emails and names for everyone to you.
Yeah, no, he's not that kind of guy. He's doing enough. Look, we shouldn't insult him because he's not sharing emails. He's doing enough for everybody. A lot of businesses that would never exist if it weren't for Amazon, for sure. Tell me about some of the first, 1, 2, 3 things that you do with a client that you onboard, and how's it making a difference for them?
Yeah, 100%. Well, the biggest thing is if someone doesn't have email marketing, or your email marketing isn't optimized, you're probably losing 20 to 30% of your top line revenue. Even if we look at the profitability, a lot of times you could be losing up to 30% of your profit. And that's because email marketing really is the most profitable marketing channel at the moment. Acquisition is the most difficult part and it costs the most money. Once you have a client that's placed an order from you, it's a lot easier to get them to buy again and again. And email marketing, SMS marketing are the tools to do that. When we onboard a new client, we typically do 3 things. First thing is understanding their exact situation with email marketing. What are they doing? What's working for them? What's not working for them? Typically, it's lack of email flows that have been set up. So email flows, think of them as behaviorally based email sequences. So if someone abandons a checkout, they receive emails. If they place an order, they receive emails. If they place 3 orders, they receive a different email. So if they do X, they get Y. And on the flip side of email marketing, we have email marketing campaigns, which is more disruptive based marketing. Think of that as a Facebook ad on your Facebook feed. You're scrolling through feed, you see organic posts, and then there's a disruption of someone trying to catch your attention. The same thing we do within the inbox is we decide when to send, what to send, to whom to send a very specific email to drive traffic, no matter what they have done or they haven't done on the website typically. We look at this area, that's phase one. And afterwards,
let me ask a question in that regard.
yes.
So when it comes to the flows, how often are they updated, right? The one, or do you just set it and forget it? And assuming, I mean, obviously you're tracking data and testing in that nature, but how often is it updated? How much work is involved with setting up the flows for folks?
That's a very good question. I'd say the bigger the brand, the more often you need to update your flows. It all comes down to the mathematics. If you have a brand that does maybe 200K a month, for them, we would typically update them every 6 months or run through an audit every quarter, but we're not actively working on updates. However, for a brand that does maybe $1 million a month in sales, doing monthly updates or quarterly updates at the least can help out a ton. You can run different split tests. You can test different kinds of emails. You might update a product in your catalog. So you might need to update some specific emails, test new upsells, cross-sells, and that can impact your sales by quite a significant margin. Even if you boost sales on email flows by 1% over a year, that adds up to $120,000 in extra top line revenue, which if you're maybe looking to acquire a business or even sell a business, that can change, that can change the valuation quickly.
Yeah, even just 120,000 in additional sales, maybe call it $24,000 in profit adds $100,000 to the value of your business, depending upon what kind of multiple you're looking at. So what's involved in an audit? You say you audit them, quarterly, things of that nature. What's involved with an audit?
So we go through every single flow and every single email within the flow. We look at the placed order rate, open rates, click-through rates, and we basically put all these metrics within a document we have and compare them alongside our KPIs. We might see that we have an abandoned checkout flow that's recovering, let's say, 12% of abandoned checkouts, but we see that email 3 out of 5 is only maybe recovering 0.5%. So that's an email which we can test a couple of variables on. We can test when the email is sent. We can test the subject line. We can test the button layout, the copy, and the main angle of the email. And we look at these variables and we try to switch up. We try to ensure we can convert more customers. Sometimes what we might see in accounts, if there has been abandoned checkout sequence created, it might be a lot simpler where the first email is just trying to get people to go back to the site. Second email shows discount. Third email just tries to add scarcity around discount. However, the email flow might not be handling the customer's true concerns. So we might split test that against an FAQ email. We take the frequently asked questions, put them together, send that out, and run it run the data in an A/B test calculator until we get statistical significance.
And how do you do the split test within? I'm assuming it's Klaviyo. This is the software that you're using, and there's split testing components to Klaviyo. Pretty simple to
Yes, there is.
manage.
There is. So there are two options. If you are testing, let's say, just a subject line, you can just start an A/B test for the same email. Select a different subject line and ship out the email itself. But if you want to test different email styles or different times an email is being sent out, they have a split testing feature, which you can simply drag and drop and play around with.
And the initial flows that you set up and the emails that are being sent, what's the best type of email to send in terms of, is it just checking in with you? Is it, giving away information for free? Is it being helpful? Is it a discount? What are you finding that first email to be most successful? What kind of email should be sent out?
So when you say the first email, do you mean the first email within a flow? Or
I have no idea what I mean. I'm just, I have Klaviyo. I pay for it every month, and I don't send out emails on the Extrapreneur side.
Yes.
And on the Quiet Light side, we've got a team that handles it. So, and I'm not even part of it, but I'm asking, I guess, from an e-commerce brand's perspective, is there a certain type of tone that you want to apply in those first emails? Are you is it a salesy thing? Is it a helpful thing? What are we looking at? What's the best approach?
So the types of emails you mentioned previously, we typically like to mix all of them together. It wouldn't be a mix in just like a Frankenstein put together one email, but we take these different elements and sprinkle them out within the email newsletters / campaigns we send out within the email flows as well. You have to look at it from a customer's perspective. I'll take an abandoned checkout series flow, which everyone is familiar with. The first email can be just a simple reminder. We can showcase the product's benefits and remind the customers to go back to the site. The second email can be a discount. The third email, you have to look and ask yourself, if I've received 2 emails, why am I not buying? What are my concerns? You can ask your customer support team, what do people ask before buying the product? And you might realize if you're selling, let's say, a shirt, they're just thinking whether the shirt runs small or runs big. They can't quite understand the right size. So the third email might be a value email showing them how to properly pick a size, as an example there. Or even we had a customer, we had a conversation with a brand that sells skiing equipment. For them, they have skiing equipment and they also have swim shorts. Now they wanted to eliminate the swim shorts from their collection for Christmas, but I told them, look, I don't think that's going to be the best idea because imagine you go on a skiing trip. You typically go to a skiing resort. What do skiing resorts have? They have spas. So even keeping lower inventory or selling out the existing inventory and not discounting it too much can be a great way to upsell customers and get that immediate sale. We can tell them and give them an idea of saying, hey, look, you already have your skiing equipment. Take the time and enjoy your vacation out, when you're off the mountain. And we can showcase the product and push them to buy. A lot of times the emails we send out, it's to handle concerns and give ideas. A lot of times people, they just want to be given ideas for them to just say, yes, I like this idea. Let me just buy the product.
Gotcha. Okay. So that was all about, the initial sequences that you're setting up. And then I wanted to delve into that. You wanted to go on to step 2. What are the next phases that you'd work with on a client that you're onboarding?
Yes. So first thing was the audit, which I mentioned. The second thing is we focus on building email flows. So with email flows, there's, depending on the scale of the brand, let's say, if the brand is doing $500,000 to $1 million a month, we immediately start with the full email setup, which is a welcome series paired up with a pop-up on the site. So with the pop-up itself, it's not something annoying, which shows up as you immediately enter a site and annoys customers. Instead, we delay it to try to target people who, as I like to call, are on the edge of buying. Meaning they've been on the site, they've looked at the products, but they still haven't decided whether they want to buy it or not. So we can capture email and retarget them through email marketing and sell them there. The next thing is a site abandonment sequence. So site abandonment means if someone has gone to the site but hasn't looked at any specific SKUs, we send them an email to try to retarget them. Next layer is browse abandonment. That's for people that have gone to the site, looked at a product page, but haven't gone to the checkout or the cart. Next layer is add to cart. Add to carts for people that tap the add to cart button, but don't go to the checkout. Then we have abandoned checkout. So we practically take the entire funnel and we add an email flow for each one of the funnel steps. And this is for the front end.
How are you capturing their email addresses in this situation if it's, they're abandoning the site? Is it the pop-up?
Yes. So site abandonment, browse abandonment, add to cart, they only work for people whose emails we already have. Meaning they've already previously placed an order, opted in, or they've abandoned a checkout. Theoretically, there are tools like getemails.com, but we haven't seen the best success with them. Those tools, they look at the cookies of the person that enters the site and they take the email from that cookie. We haven't seen it be the most accurate tool, so we're not using it. But for some people, if you get a ton of traffic, it might be worth a shot. However, you need to be careful so you don't get too many bounces. A bounce is basically you sending an email to a fake email address and then it not delivering.
Yeah, and then that means all of your other emails are going to wind up in spam or junk folders as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the situation.
Do you have any, case studies that you can talk about in terms of a client that you've onboarded and what, the setting up proper flows and campaigns and whatnot, how it impacted their business?
Yes, we had a client we were starting to work with. They sell in Canada and the US, and they had a decent flow strategy. It depends on some clients. In their case, they were doing 1 million a month in sales. We scaled them up to 1.2 million. So adding 200K in sales. In their case, that was just specifically by implementing email campaigns and updating their existing email flows. So
they were already using email flows, but hadn't
yes.
really. Is it that they weren't updating it on a regular basis? They weren't focused on it. They weren't sending the right messages. How do you go from,
Yes.
how do you add $200,000 a month in revenue?
Yeah.
with
we even
emails?
we even had a crazier case study. We scaled a brand from 600K to 991K in 30 days. And it all comes down to after auditing 351 Klaviyo accounts, we see that typically, first things first, people don't have the full flow setup. So the flows I mentioned, there's still more flows than that we set up. And when brands set up email marketing, it's kind of like a back burner idea. You want to focus on acquisition, you want to focus on paid advertising, and email marketing is something you sweep under the rug and you kind of set it up. You might maybe look at a course, look at the default flows Klaviyo shows you, but that's not the full picture. Quite often, it's a simply put together strategy that has no depth to it, really. We have too few emails. The content of the emails isn't well enough. You have too few flows. That's what it comes down to. On the email campaign strategy, typically the segmentation strategy is not dialed in, the content is not good enough, and they're not sending emails frequently enough. So it's quite often you can see with email marketing, people are they're going the right direction. They're not doing enough of it and they're not going deep enough. And I understand it. You still want to focus on the growth of the business, which will come through developing your products, working on paid advertising, and retention is something that's very important. But the most growth long term will come from having better acquisition, better products. Email marketing is important, but it's always going to be more of a lagging measure. If you have $1 million in monthly sales, you're not going to be able to bring email marketing to take you to 5 million directly. Like your email list is going to be smaller than the traffic you can generate through paid ads in this example. So I believe that's how people also look at it, and they kind of leave it in the back of the room.
Well, I think as far as a positive return on investment, email marketing is pretty high in terms of, the cost of Klaviyo, cost of doing it themselves or services like yours versus the return on investment. Probably much higher than paid advertising and things of that nature, wouldn't you say?
I completely agree, 100%. So that's why I say email marketing might not scale the business from 1 to 5 million directly, but it can do it indirectly. So in the case these I mentioned, the brand we scaled from 600 to 991K in 30 days just with email marketing. They're able to generate 300K more, which they can reinvest back into paid advertisements, back into R&D to build new products. And again, that's what I mentioned previously as a business owner. Those are the main things you'll be focusing on. Research and development, building new products, improving the existing products, and focusing on paid advertisements. And email marketing is a tool that helps fuel those verticals, those areas, which are aggressively going to help you scale. And email is a profit machine, which you can use to feed those verticals.
How do you decide like what to write and who writes it? In your case, if you onboard a client, are you guys and your team at agencyJR doing some of the copy creation? Or giving examples of campaigns and flows to clients, or the clients doing all of the writing?
So when someone works with us, we take care of everything, all the way from strategy, designs, copywriting, everything. And the clients can get as involved or as detached as they want. So they want to get very, very involved and give more revisions, they can. When it comes to who writes it, typically in our case, it's either an account manager or a copywriter. The difference is a copywriter is more well versed in research and in writing more complex copy, whether that would be for brands like finances or very specific niches that you need industry knowledge for. An account manager is someone with more broad knowledge, or someone who is specified on a specific niche. So let's say we have people who primarily handle pets clients, or who primarily handle beauty clients. We've had simulation racing, which then would need to be handled by a copywriter. It's a very specific niche. coming up with email ideas, the easiest way to do it is looking at your brand and the world from a macro scale, and then diving in a more niche scale. So from a macro scale, you can look at the world. What are different holidays that are happening? What are the world events that are happening right now? So from those, you can narrow down. You can create like different events and holidays that are happening, and write emails around those. Then you can go deeper. What's happening within a brand? Is there something special happening this month? Are we launching a new product? Are we maybe doing an internal discount? This is maybe our anniversary. Then we can go down more niche to a product level. We can look at what have been the bestsellers of the previous month, bestsellers so far. If they change, they might stay the same practically all the time. In that case, you could skip that step. But then again, you can look at your season and think of it from your customer's lens, and you can look from a couple of lenses there. You can look from your buyers and think, hey, if I have purchased product X, which might be your hero SKU, what would I need to know, or what would be useful for me to improve my product X? So if you purchased even gym shorts, there might be different upsells you might have for weightlifting, which might be weightlifting straps, maybe wrist wraps, and you can write content and combine the two products together. For people who haven't purchased, you can think about how can we get them to trust us more. You can send emails showcasing case studies from clients, recent wins from clients, and tie those in with the product you're selling. And a lot of times it comes down to giving customers ideas. What are the specific ideas we can give them? I'll take Mother's Day, for example. On Klaviyo, you can segment customers based on the prediction of their gender, whether they're male or female. And we could send 2 emails, one to males, one to females. For males, we could say, hey, for Women's Day, get your girlfriend, get your wife, get your mother a gift. For women, we could take a similar angle, but the way we talk with women and men is different. We want to show for a man that, this is going to, they're going to love you more. They're going to be more emotionally swayed to you. For women, it's more, telling them, hey, take care of your family, take care of your mother, show her love. Versus for a man, we can take a different angle. And through segmentation, through giving customers ideas, we can write more unique case studies. And what works very well, if you can't come up with anything, look at similar niches and take ideas from them. If you are selling dog products, look at what people are doing with maybe food supplementation. Maybe take some ideas and adjust it for your niche. Quite often what's working for them could end up working for you. So you don't need to be original 100% of the time. That's what's great, working with an agency. You have a lot of data. They see what's working in different niches, so they can take the best from each niche and combine it to get the best results quicker.
If somebody wanted to do all of this on their own, is there a structure? Is there like a roadmap of how to set up your campaigns and your flows and all of this? Or is it something that you really have to do individually for each type of business?
There are principles you follow, but there isn't a template per se. Principles are typically quite simple. If I have to look at most accounts we've seen and the mistakes we make, I would say first things first, focus on, again, look through everything from your customer's lens, the same way you would write your landing pages copy. Send more emails than you think you might need to send, and create more flows than you might think you might need to create. That would be the easiest breakdown for someone who wants to do it on their own. There obviously are courses on my Twitter page. I do produce a lot of content, breaking down different email examples for inspiration, showcasing different case studies, showcasing the flows and the amount of emails we've set up in each one of the flows.
What's your Twitter handle for folks that are listening right now?
Email Reinis. So email as in email and Reinis as in REINIS.
Got it. Okay, great.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm spelling your name right now. I'm writing it down, folks, because it is what it is. It's not Joe. It's a little harder to spell than Joe. My mother was very simple-minded when she named me Saint Joseph. It didn't work out the saint part, but she got the name right anyways. This has been great, Reinis. I find personally, it ought to be a bit overwhelming, right? Again, on my book sales, I've got a VA that does it, and we do it really, really poorly. But I don't have, uh, products to sell other than the book. I, did that intentionally. The book is to help people, and it's not necessarily for me to make money. And as I've always said, if I could give it away for free, I would. And in some cases I do, just the digital version of it. So it's overwhelming to me. And I would imagine that some folks that are listening that are really, really focused on simply product marketing, that they haven't delved into this email campaigning as much as they could. I totally agree with you. And I've talked to a lot of experts in space. And knowing what I know about business valuations and what we do here at Quiet Light, a 10% bump in revenue can make an enormous bump in valuation of your business, and odds are the business is your greatest asset. So you should pay attention to those things. It's all a matter of bandwidth and capacity. And when it comes to hiring agencies to do this, Reinis, it's often, more work that somebody needs to do. So if I were a client that's onboarding, how much time does it take from a client's perspective that is already straight out with running their business and doing everything that they're doing? How much time is involved if they're choosing not to do this themselves and try to figure it out, and hiring an agency like yours? How much time are they putting in, and over what period of time does it settle down into how much a month should they be dedicating to email campaigns and so on?
So if someone does it on their own,
no way to tell.
Yeah, it can be depend on how much time you put in. Like, you can work on advertising campaigns and put in a little bit of effort and not get any results, and put a lot of effort and dive into it and not have any life and just scale.
No, I really mean with, because everybody's different and they learn different ways. But I really mean with working with an agency like agencyJR, capacity wise, how much time in my day do I need to have to be onboarded with you and get this up and running over the next 3 to 6 months?
I can't speak for other agencies, but for us specifically, the process is very simple for the clients. There would be an onboarding call at the start. We might ask some questions, but you wouldn't even need to spend an hour a day on communicating with us. I'd say during the onboarding phase, you might want to spend 1.5 hours with us max. And the onboarding phase typically is 2 weeks. Then afterwards, as we move forward, you don't need to spend that much time with us on a monthly basis. It can be as hands-on or as hands-off as you like. We have a process in place that the workflow, you can either approve every single little thing we create, or if you trust us, you can let us do our thing and completely forget about it. And you can make a decision anytime you want. This process follows through, and we follow this process every single month. Typically, what most companies do, they might introduce us to their CMO, and every single month they have 2 main days where they might need to spend an hour or maybe 2 hours on each days with us. One is at the start of the month, around the 7th of each month, to approve the content calendar. So content calendar talks about the exact emails we have prepared for the following month. And day 2 of this process would be towards the end of the month, so around the 20th or maybe 25th, where we send all the finalized emails, email designs, email copies, and for them, and they can review that. They can make revisions, and if we have those revisions, we'll execute upon them. If not, we schedule the emails and start sending them out. It's pretty simple. Like, we understand that everyone's busy, and we don't want to make it difficult and complicated for the clients. The onboarding process is super smooth. You have to fill out an onboarding form, schedule an onboarding call with us, and afterwards, this is really how much it takes to work with us.
And how does the pricing work? Is it a fixed fee on a monthly basis? Is it a scale depending upon the size of the business? Is it you're earning a percentage of the revenue? How do you guys work?
Great question. So we have 2 main pricing models. One is either a flat retainer. The other one is a hybrid model. So it might be a retainer plus performance-based. We don't have packages per se, so I can't give an exact number right now, but I will give a range. Typically, our clients pay us 2 to 6K a month. 2K is on the lower end, 6K is for higher scale clients as well. Obviously, the higher the scale, more emails we can send out, higher responsibility. So we have different teams working at different scales as well. that's typically the range we work in. Obviously, for the commission-based, there sometimes the cap, sometimes isn't, but we make sure the deals we have, they make sense for the clients and for us as well.
Overall, sounds pretty simple to measure the return on investment, which is always important in this situation. Yes. This is great. Reinis, how do folks learn more about you? How do they reach out to you? How do they get information on your services and things of that nature?
Yeah, so you can go to agencyJR.com. So it's agency as in agency, J as in Jacob, R as in Reinis.com. And through there, you can learn more about us. If you specifically want to book a call, you can go to agencyjr.com/call. So the same agency, J as in Jacob, R as in Reinis.com/call. And you'll be able to book a call with me.
Pretty simple. Awesome. All right. I appreciate it. Thanks for joining us on the podcast today, Reinis.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
All right. We'll talk soon.